What's up? What's up, y'all? Call this piece the tip of the shadow world. The tip of the shadow world. And a lot of people, I mentioned this about just going to the tip of the sexual shadow world, underworld. I prefer shadow world, though. Reason why I prefer shadow world because it's like a shadow. Now, one issue with any discussion is because, like on this YouTube space, if you introduce a term, and let's just be clear, I was the first one to start talking about that in this space a few years ago. Um, People take it and run, and sometimes they're accurate, sometimes they're not. And to be honest, very few people are in the shadow world. Very few people. Very few people. And to understand the sexual shadow world is to understand one basic thing about a woman's sexual nature. They have a dual sexual nature. They have a social needs and they have the pure sexual needs. Now, the social needs are companionship, connection, all that good stuff, but also conforming to whatever the social environment is. And so you get a lot of women to conform to the social environment. Of course, they want to get married, they want to have a man, they want to have somebody publicly to go on dates with, right? And that's when we always talk about the looks, money, status thing. That's when that thing becomes important because they want to walk around with somebody who looks decent for the most part. Yeah, they'll still give the average guy or ugly guy, but usually they bring in something else to the table. So they still on that social level they'll deal with that. Now, remember I did that video, the 5 types of sex women have. Usually on that social level, it'll be the scratch your itch sex, and that's still got a social element to it. That kind of gets a little into the shadow world depending on the individual circumstances. But then the main ones are the relationship sex and the transactional sex. Like the relational sex is, woman to get with somebody, and she ain't turned on by him, but the other stuff kind of is important to her. She might say, well, he's a good provider, he's a good guy, I can hang out with him, I can laugh with him, but he ain't ringing any bells in the bedroom or something. But that's more the relational stuff. She'll still hang in there or figure out something. Now, remember I said about ringing bells in the bedroom. That's when it gets interesting. And then the transactional sex, of course, is okay, this dude spent money, he did this, and boom, she just had sex with him. I mean, and that's even a lot with it's a transactional thing, even with the status thing. Because, she's basically trading that sex for access to maybe his social circle or whatever else she needs. Yeah, of course a truck came past me, but this is different. I'm at the gym and they got like a little summer camp here and everything. Yeah. Nah, that's another video. Anyway, I was about to say something. Well, I'll say it real quick. For all y'all young guys, I don't know why young guys ain't in the gym. Just hang out in the gym during the summer, especially a big one that might have some camps or something. Yeah. Oh, damn. She the one drive pushing that thing. Been winning all this time and who's pushing that particular truck. I might be pausing this in a second. Anyway, getting back to it. So, that social thing, a lot of times, even in this space, when people are talking about game, they're talking about the social aspect of it. But they not thinking about the shadow world because you still get some sex just with this social aspect anyway. It's just not that raw, butt naked, she coming off the chandelier type of sex. It's gonna be decent. Might do some doggy style or something like that. Eat the poo. But it's not. She ain't gonna have that same like abandon. With the social side. Hence the shadow world. Because in the social side, when a woman is, what the fuck you looking at? Anyway, on the social side, woman, she ain't, she might not be able to get that guy who's going to just rock her world. She's not going to get that guy who's necessarily gonna rock a world, because it's hard for, and many women will attest to this, it's hard to find that guy who's a good guy, be a good provider, good protector, making some money, even got some good sense, and that guy who just gonna fuck the shit out of him. But that's when you get into the shadow world. See, the whole purpose of the shadow world is for a woman to express themselves freely without judgment from overall society. That's when she can let go. Because when a woman is in the social world is more of a world of order. It's a world of men establishing a certain order, a certain system, and they got to conform to it if they want to eat. Even these so-called feminists and stuff, they still conform to the world of men. A lot of guys don't realize that it's still a man's world, at least on that level. So they still got to conform socially. But see, in the shadow world, they can free themselves. Now, I say just the tip of the shadow world. And like I said earlier, I think I said earlier, I'm not even sure. Get distracted too easily. But a lot of people might think the sexual shadow world is just like some swingers parties or something like that. Believe it or not, that's not necessarily. You can look up swinger clubs or something like on Google or something. And a lot of swingers will tell you if they'll swing if you ask. That's not shadow world. But to understand, like, just the tip of the shadow world, think in terms, you got a woman in the neighborhood. She's married, and it looked like a great thing. And I gotta be careful how I say this, because I might tell on myself a little bit. But say you got a married couple in the neighborhood. They might have a couple kids. You might even play with the kids, right? You might be like a 17-year-old boy who plays with the sons and daughters of this family. You know the kids in the family, cool. You might go over there. And so you got the parents, you got the woman, and she look nice. She's fine. Little kids probably, little boys probably have crushes on her and stuff, right? And, she the one who, kids come in, hot summer day, for the kids who used to play and stuff, or some kids still play. And she'll have some little drinks. And, of course, they go to church. She might have a decent job herself. And she just looked like that ideal domestic goddess type of woman. She cooks, does all that stuff, good wifey and everything. And her and her husband even look perfect together. Happy. And and she actually appreciates him, man. She could even say she loves him. And the sex could even be decent. Now, that same woman, this woman that, I don't know, she could have a born-ass job. She could dress like average. She could be fucking one of her son's friends. That's shadow work. Because it's just a pure lust thing. Ain't no, he can't take care of her. He ain't providing. She old enough to be his mom, of course. That's the shadow world. But it's a pure lust because dude is also like one of those like 6'2" football players or something, got a nice body, or he filled out just right, And then, because one thing in the shadow world, that's all about lust. Like some guys think, oh, I can just buy my way in, or if I got some status or whatever. No, not at that level. Now, the only exception is like a corner of the shadow world that deal with real powerful people. And that's a weird corner, but I don't mess with that. And I mean when I say real powerful, the shadow world that is most prevalent is when it's just an ordinary person, somebody who live in one of these houses I'm passing by, who look just, innocent, don't do anything, go to church, shoot. Heck, according to what I've been told, could be the first lady of a church. Up in the thing, or be the type publicly to denounce any sex outside of marriage or even premarital sex. But they jumping up and down on some muscular young boy because it's a pure lust thing. Now, like I said, the body part is just to really be in the shadow world, or somebody to be chosen for the shadow world. The dude can't walk up to a woman and say, oh, I'm gonna get into the shadow world this way. It don't work like that. That's one thing. It don't work like that. The women choose you in the shadow world. That's the chaos realm. And one person, I know one person, one content creator know exactly what I'm talking about. Well, a few people in my inner circle, they're going to know exactly what I'm talking about. That's the chaos realm. Men don't run that world. It's the women's choice, and they invite you in. That's one thing. Some people say, well, how can I do it? I mean, yeah, you can go to a swingers club, but like I said, they kind of public. Or even BDSM. Like, people might understand that to be shot, but it's not. You can tell somebody, shoot. You got some people in those worlds, shoot, they got IG pages. Nah, a woman in the shadow world, she might have an IG page, but all she got is Bible verses on it or something. But then she's still getting down with that young boy, that muscular dude. She's the older woman at a bachelorette party sucking some stripper's dick. That was a dog whistle, like, right there. Somebody hear that one. Some shit like that. So, part of it is the lust thing. They got a lust. I mean, their ovaries got a pop. And the second part is the person has to have certain personality traits. That's the key. Because you got a lot of muscular dudes in the social aspect and got money and all that, and the women to deal with them. But then those dudes, they're also the type who will judge a woman and say, oh, she doing all this. And ultimately, women know if they want to operate in a social world, they got to put on a certain mask. So they'll look for that guy. Not only does he inspire lust, get their ovaries popping, but he got a certain amount of discreetness. Now, let me say something, because every now and then you get somebody like show receipts or people talking about receipts or something. I already know they don't know nothing about the shadow world. That's the worst thing you can do. Like, I could show me in a picture of somebody on here, but that disqualifies I show one picture of one woman. That disqualifies me from about 10 women because they say, okay, he putting his shit out there. And that's one of the first things. A woman might observe you for a while. She might be on the job. She might just be paying attention and say, okay, is he bragging? Is he going to be quiet about this? Because it might not even be a woman who's married or something. She could be a single woman, but, because of her position, she might be a professional. It could be a racial thing sometime. It's something where they prefer to keep their... prefer to be anonymous. They instinctively look for somebody who's going to be discreet, who can keep their mouth shut. And that's a very important piece. Discretion. Like, any real player is going to have a level of discretion. They ain't going to tell you where they've been. In fact, you'll never know. A real player, you'll never know where they've really been, because they'll do it automatically even if they don't have to. I mean, I've known of several players who I only found out how they rolled because the women were bragging. Because the women are still brag, but then that dips a little bit into the social side. But, the tip of the shadow world is really where they're going to get off. And for you to be that, the most representative person of that tip would be the side piece. That's very important to consider. The side piece would be the most... Because, and I mean a true side piece. When I say a true, I don't mean that guy that she's cheating with, but she's going out in public with. That ain't a real side piece. She just monkey branch and ain't quit the first person or divorced the first person. If anybody can see y'all together, that's not too much of a side. That's a side piece, but they don't have to be shadow work. There's still some social aspects to that. The side piece is the person, she meet him at a motel somewhere. She don't drive her main car. It'd be all out of the way or something. And very important, it has to be that type of person. If he's going to be in the shadow world, he's that type of person that if he see out in public, he got to walk by like he don't know, or even, because like I know one story of a dude, he was that side piece, but then he saw the woman in public with some other dudes, and she was trying to talk. He was trying to talk to her, and she was like, "Who is this?" And the dude almost got fucked up because he was like, "I don't know who this dude is. What the?" They'll do that shit. There's probably dudes sitting in a jail cell because they violated that one rule. Because remember, socially, women got to keep up a certain image. Socially, women got to keep up a certain image. So the tip of it is just being that side piece. You got to be quiet, and it's about lust. So you got to have some freak in you too. That's important. If you got any sexual hangups, you probably won't be in the sexual underworld. Because the main reason a woman is dealing with you is sex. She don't give a fuck about your money and status. And hell, she don't need to be looking like Adonis. Because if you fucking her right, she ain't gonna be looking in your eyes anyway that much. Shit. She might not want that any damn way. Hell, she might have some little fantasy or something. You wearing a mask or something. She might literally give you a paper bag with some holes in it. That's how deep it is. And, one of the things with the stuff I do is more from a shadow world perspective anyway. Because I'm looking at the bottom line and plus kind of had a twisted, whatchamacallit. So, we had some twisted experiences. Oh, okay. I thought he was about to pull close. So, anyway. Yeah, and that's just the tip. It gets even deeper than that. There's a lot of aspects I'll never discuss on here. Because really, I'm gonna tell you what, a lot of men really couldn't handle the shadow world. And then when I see some women act like, they don't know what I'm talking about, I just assume they lying or trying to save face. Be better if they just be quiet. Because most women know about it. And see, that's the one thing too. It could be any woman in the shadow world, any woman. Now I ain't gonna say they all look for it, but they know. They know. You know. Nah, I can't tell that. I was about to share something with you, but I gotta watch that one. She's starting to watch these videos. So anyway, yeah, that's the tip. That's the tip. It gets deep. And honestly, because I mentioned like I wouldn't really consider any man truly red pill unless he experienced that. I can tell when a man experienced that world. If I'm talking to you, you can write something, talk to you, and I can tell immediately. Like if you could try to come on here and say, "Well, I did this and that," trying to impress me, I'm gonna be like, okay, because there's a certain look. There's a certain look that someone who's been in that world has experienced because you see it's so totally against the social thing and all these pills and everything. It's so totally on the other side of that. It really is. Because you really have to deal with it. And really, there's a comfort and then there's a like, damn, this is some fucked up shit. It really is. But only dudes who can really I'm gonna tell you what. And that's almost another video. Y'all know how I like doing that, saying that's another video. I'm gonna stay in business for a while. To really navigate, it's hard for somebody to be in a shadow world and then to get married. If they do, they will probably have an open relationship. And they would have to be comfortable with the idea of another man fucking their woman. Because one thing about the shadow world, it don't have, all those social ideas, marriage, all those social constructs go out the door. It's pure lust. It's pure lust. So anyway, that's all I'm going to say for now. And like I said, I know some dudes, they'll say, well, I've been there. I've been a side piece. I'll start asking some questions like, did y'all go out to the movies or something? Yeah. You went Shadow World, though. She was monkey branching. Shadow World is totally like the men in the Shadow World, the women, in most cases, there's always a weird exception, but in most cases would never be associated with that dude in the Shadow World openly. In most cases, she would never allow herself to be seen with them, interact with them, especially in cases when it's like some racial thing. Seriously, especially in some cases, and that shit. Yeah, there's some shit I could tell y'all about. Y'all be like, shit, and I got it from like some old school players. I'll say this though, it undergirds a lot of shit. There's a lot of shit, and yeah. I just laugh about it because it's funny. That's why I ignore a lot when I see it's like ring something, and you just got to know if you understand. And I'm gonna tell you what, if you really understand the shadow world, shit, women become increasingly easy. And I'm giving y'all a little bit from the shadow world. I'm giving you in my books and stuff, but they become increasingly easy because you understand something. But the real key is within a man. Can he deal with it? If he can deal with it, if you can just deal with the nature, you get comfortable with it, boom, the world is yours. So anyway, that's all for now. Anything else, I'm gonna make y'all pay for it. Anyway, I'll talk to y'all later. Peace and blessings.